Time now to get the latest trends in dive retailing, travel, and training with Level Up, the podcast of Scuba Diving Industry Magazine. Now, here's your host, Scuba Radio's Greg the Dive Master.
Yes, that is me, but this is the Level Up podcast, the official podcast for Scuba Diving Industry Magazine. And, so we're kind of diverting. We're going deeper into the dive industry with some industry pros this week. The people behind the magazine are Willie Klein and his son, Britton. Guys, how you doing?
We're great. Thanks, Greg.
Yeah. No worries. I just got back from the Maldives. I'll have to sprinkle that in at some point, but I might be slightly jet lagged. So you guys are ready to pick up the slack. Is that true, Britton? Come on, help me out.
That's right.
All right.
That's right. Absolutely. The Maldives, man. That sounds fantastic.
It was. We had whale sharks at the back of the boat. And like I said, I'll sprinkle that in throughout the thing just so I can basically tell everybody to suck at losers. I was in the Maldives and you weren't. That's one of the things we can do as divers when we go on these cool trips, don't you think? Isn't that what you do, Willie? You do that sometimes, don't you?
That's true. And Joel just got back from Grenada, and Gail got back from Palau not too long ago. Shelley, I think you were down in Central America someplace, as I recall. So, and Catherine lives in freaking
I just got in from my backyard.
So we're going to equally be able to, say suck it to our fellow dive industry friends because we're doing our dream jobs.
Hammerheads by the dozen.
Oh, okay.
Oh my gosh.
She might have a fin up on me. But before we get to all that, let's steer in towards the DEMA show coming up in November. I was getting through this Maldives trip, and now it's time to hunker down and plan accordingly for the big diving event of the year. I know you've been doing the same thing, right, Britton? What do you got going?
That's right, Greg. We are only 2 issues away from the DEMA show. So guys, contact me if you don't have your space reserved. Last year, we saw a 73% increase in engagement for the show issues. So this year, we're expecting that number to climb just as high. And we want to let as many people know about our magazine as possible.
Yeah. Well, I'm already lining up all the giveaways that we do at the beginning of the show to open up the DEMA show. And I'll tell you, I think we're going to have another record breaker. They're already throwing all kinds of stuff at me, all kinds of trips, liveaboard trips. Oh, and matter of fact, we may actually be giving away a trip to the Maldives like I just did. It was a 10-nighter with Explorer Ventures. Yeah.
We're going to be doing a series called Live from DEMA every day. So we're going to be working with you on that, Greg. You just don't know it yet.
Okay. Well, I'll add it to the list. Yeah, I'm picking up a few extra gigs this year. It looks like they say, Greg, couldn't you do this? Okay, what the hell? I'm there. It's in Orlando this year. It's in my backyard, so I have no excuse.
Literally.
Yes. So we'll participate. That's what honestly, that's how. With doing this goofy little show called Scuba Radio, I've been doing it for 28 years. This is the opportunity for me to give back to the industry. That's how I do this and give away a bunch of stuff and, send everybody in with a smile on their face. It's a very good Santa-like gig to have at the DEMA show.
That's
so I look forward to it. I really do. It's a good thing. Yeah.
So our July issue, we're running a little late this month. Normally we do this on the 10th, but due to Greg plan in the Maldives, and then I had a trip in addition to that. We had to push it up a bit, but thanks for being with us, everyone. I do want to start off with a brief discussion. If you haven't read my From the Publisher this month, it's a really insightful, very quick and one-page read, but it's a attempt to try to quantify just how big the U.S. dive industry is right now at this moment and how big the global industry is based on a couple of very rock solid pieces of data that go to build those 2 different models. And interesting, Alex is writing an article for us. I believe it's in the DEMA issue coming up. There's a new study that just came out that was probably the best dive tourism study I have ever seen. And I've seen a lot of them out there that claim they're available. But this is based on a fairly significant number of actual interviews, not a bunch of computer analysis, which stuff's out there, and some surveys and things like that. And then our numbers are very closely follow kind of what they show. So it's really an interesting read if you get a chance. We showed that the U.S. industry is right now around $1 billion total, and globally we're just shy, a little over $8 billion. And based on the numbers, at least that we've been able to calculate. So take a look at that, and we're going to run through and get started with our very first speaker of the day here, Greg. We're going from Dallas, Texas to Orlando to the Azores.
Yeah, that's right. The Azores with Catherine Castle.
Azores.
Garcia. Well, Azores, I mean, tomato, right, Catherine?
Kind of, yeah.
So you were
It's like
just diving
your country, but okay.
Yeah, whatever. But you know,
Right.
so you were just diving with schooling hammerheads. I had whale sharks and mantas. I don't know. That's a tough one, but I think we're comparable. You think?
Yeah, I think yeah, both count.
Yes.
It sounds like good dives no matter what.
Absolutely. So, but you got the latest issue of Scuba Diving Industry Magazine, making statements that benefit your business, vision, values, mission. Tell us about it. What do you got for us this week?
Well, the whole we're on a mission. We need to be able to tell our customers what exactly that mission is. And one of the best ways that we can do that is actually craft a mission statement that describes what you do, how you do it, who you serve by doing it. And most importantly, it says why you do it. Why are we here? We are here to serve you. We are here to introduce you to the wonders of the aquatic world, etc.
I like it. You don't just come out and say, "We want your money." Come on. No, we want some of that $1 billion. No, I'm kidding, but only halfway, right?
Exactly. Well, yes, we want your money, but we want you in the door first.
Yes.
So what the key here is to be able to explain to people what you're doing, why you're doing it, and why they would want to do business with you. So in a value statement, you're going to actually include not only why are we here, but what do we stand for? How do we behave? What do we think matters most in our business? And for instance, core values might include things like safety, because we all want to make certain that we're offering, safe instruction and safe equipment and safe travel to our clients. Also, stewardship. Are we teaching people how to behave well with one another, with our community, and also with the environment? A lot of value statements would have a spirit of adventure, like we're in this for the adventure and we want you to join us. It's an invitation to have wonder and awe and excitement. And then also an element of service, like how does our business fit into the local community, into the diving community, and into the global diving community. So those are some ways that you can incorporate really good values into your mission statement.
Yeah, and it's an easy sell when you're doing something like, swimming with whale sharks or hammerheads. I mean, it's just natural to want to share this with your friends and people that you meet in your dive center. I mean, that for me, that's what it's all about, is being able to share this love of diving that we've come across, been so fortunate to participate in, and I feed off that. Do you do that as well, Catherine? What do you think?
Absolutely, and in our industry, it's easy to be real and to give people all the feels. We just want to be able to set aside a little time so that we kind of have our act together when somebody asks, so who are you and what do you do and how do you do it? You want to be able to let that just roll off so that your passion comes through with your authenticity, because that's really key. You have a very short span of time to capture someone's attention and to make them want to do business with you. So taking some time to actually create these statements and then get them down rote. Like, you need to be able to say them and have every member of your staff say them like they're just going to slide off, like it's the absolute fact of what you do. So that's really important. And remember, the key to all of this is to attract more customers to your business. So the more you come off like you know what you're doing and that you're excited about what you're doing, the better off your business is going to be.
Well, once again, I think it's an easy sell. Willie?
Well,
yeah.
That the complicated part is that people, I think, oversimplify. They think, oh, mission statement, I'm just going to put some nice words that sounds good about my company. No. It's a complex process. And I love how on page 22 of this issue, you walk people through the how, who, why, all the different elements of exactly how to create that mission statement. So if you are thinking about changing your mission statement or don't really have a clearly defined one, check out our article. It's really good.
And thanks
she's
for
also
mentioning
available.
that, because I actually am in the process of creating a How to Craft a Mission Statement mini course. And I would love to have some crash test dummies. So if you are interested, if you're listening to the podcast and you're interested in working with me on this and being one of my beta testers, just shoot me an email at hello@clearstorycoach.com, or get in touch through the magazine, and Willie will put us in touch, and I can help you test out some of your material for your clients.
There you go. You'll get
And
all
you
the
have
eels, or I mean, me,
and you have a
feels, right? Not eels, or both.
Yeah, yes.
and
Eels,
you
feels.
also are going to be speaking at DEMA, correct, Catherine?
I am. I am really happy to be back again this year as a DEMA sponsored speaker. I have 2 sessions that are in the education package. And it's very important that if you want to attend the DEMA sponsored sessions, when you sign up for DEMA, go ahead and check the box that says education package. It's the best bang for your buck, because we've got a lot of Scuba Diving Industry Magazine staffers that are going to be speaking this year. So you'll get access to all of those sessions in addition to your admission to the event. So I'll be speaking. I have 2 sessions that are DEMA sponsored, and then I also have sessions by another couple of sponsors. And I have some time for some free consults. No strings attached, no charge. If you want to book a 20-minute complimentary consult with me, I have a few of those available. So just get in touch and make certain that you make a reservation in advance for that.
I like it.
Thank you, Catherine. You know, her tagline in her
Thanks.
ad is, if your marketing message isn't clear, you're just making noise. And I think it's really
That's right.
appropriate. So she's got some great insights. So thanks again. So we're going to go from the beautiful
guys.
blue waters of the Atlantic, at least I got that portion correct,
Mhm.
to we're going to take a quick stop in North Carolina. So Britt and I got invited by the nice folks at Garmin last month to test dive their new sonic wave technology. And Gil, I'm really glad Dan's not on this podcast, because he always has the #1 article in terms of interactions and reads every month, but yours is stomping it all over him, unfortunately, with this buoy article that you wrote. So congratulations, Gil. So Gil wrote about this new technology. And Britton, tell a little about what it was like to dive with this technology.
Man, I tell you what, to be able to see personally, just kind of speaking for the younger diver here, you're able to see your pressure, right? You can tell where your downline is, the little things, right? I mean, Gil covered the new tech pretty well. But yeah, I mean, just being able to see those numbers and be able to
So
tell
he's
the
able to see
exact
my
location
numbers
of the.
and my
That's
numbers
right.
too, not just, So
That's
as
right.
a
The
buddy
entire
team, we can
group.
see each other, yeah.
Yeah,
The entire
actually,
group that we went down
yeah,
with.
you know, Britton, back up just a little bit and explain exactly what this what is it, subwave? Is that what it's called, and what it does exactly?
Subwave.
Yeah,
I believe, yeah. So it is
Yeah.
the. Sorry.
yeah. Just
So Gil,
tell us what it is. What does it do exactly?
Well, I couldn't tell you exactly what it does, but
You benefited
it
by what it gave you, I guess. is what you're
benefited
saying.
greatly.
Yeah.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
yeah. Just
Yeah.
having all of the numbers, being able to tell, how much air I have, the amount of time I have left in my dive. I'm not having to try and keep track of. I wasn't a great math student, anyways. So numbers
Math
up here.
sucks,
That's not a
anyway,
great.
yeah.
That's not a great. Yeah.
That's why we're divers.
Yeah, that's right. That's
Yeah.
right. We're in this industry. But even down to the location of the downline, where we descended from, it provided such a sense of security that I wouldn't say isn't always there. But for what the visibility was, it was also really, really nice to just have that quite literally in my back pocket.
Yeah.
Yeah, what'd you say it was at one point? You thought 7 feet?
Yeah. I thought the
That was pushing
visibility
it, yeah.
was about 7 feet,
Mm.
6 feet, and but the tech, man. I mean, the tech allowed me to just dive without a care in the world, and they said that there were a couple cool fish in the pond, so I'm over here looking for them and not worrying about the logistics.
Right.
The dive. It really just it had that great account of all that.
Yeah. Well, I think
That's a good summary.
yeah, and that's what Gil wrote about, what the technology is,
right.
what it is, And I mean, maybe this question's better for you, Gil. How would you
Yeah.
describe this new system from Garmin?
Well, thanks for asking. When I started writing this article, I like to write fun headlines. So one headline I thought I would use would be "Boys will be boys," and then introduce the technology. Or another headline could have been "Where the Boys Are," if you're old enough to remember that movie. But this technology is innovative, it's proprietary, and it's revolutionary. And the best part of it is it can help save a life. I mean, we all love diving in the Maldives, the Caribbean, the Azores, um, Hawaii, where there's usually crystal clear water. But if you are in a lot of current, like in Cozumel, and the viz isn't the best, and you can't see the buoy, you can't see the boat, this will help you find it because it helps you navigate to where the buoy is. It helps divers and the surface message each other and helps divers message each other. And if anyone ever saw the movie Open Water, or if anyone has anyone ever been left behind by a boat, first of all?
Thank God,
Know
no.
anyone who has? Yeah, we all have friends who have been left
Yes.
behind. Fortunately, they survived. But in that movie, Open Water, this American couple went to the Great Barrier Reef, got left behind, and died because the boat didn't have the system. The boat didn't have a number system where you go back on the boat and give a roll call. So the technology is wonderful because it makes you a safer diver, and they can always track you even if you're not paying attention to how much air you have or where you are. And it reminds me of a friend who I'll call Roman. I was diving with him in Little Cayman, and every dive we took, he would take off on his own. He wouldn't have a buddy. He would just, and we wouldn't see him for 45 minutes, an hour. He'd come back up and, oh, I had a great dive. And once I heard, and I asked him about this, he was in Indonesia and he came up on the wrong boat because he got so far away from everyone else.
Sure.
So this system will prevent that from happening.
Yeah. So it allows the folks on the boat to track all the divers in the water. It allows the divers to talk amongst themselves or actually see where their buddy is or other divers in the water and help them navigate easier. And it uses sonar and God knows what else. It's a pretty high-tech system. Yeah, I was reading about it as well.
Yeah. Well, I want to add one more thing about this article. I've written hundreds and hundreds of articles. This is the first one I ever wrote where I quoted people, but I never physically spoke to them by phone or on Zoom because they were all so busy with this new product introduction. And there was a media embargo, which meant that we couldn't tell anyone about it until the article came out. But it was all through email. They were very responsive, but it was just kind of a quirky thing.
Yeah.
So we were honored to be the first magazine to actually test dive it and use it in person. And it was quite an honor. And I know, Gil, you did a great job on the article and really summed it up. And Patrick Danko, which is the director of the whole dive division at Garmin, was very impressed with your article and appreciated that we turned in actually our little visit to an on-the-road Marketing Minutes podcast as well. So if you get a chance, check all that out. It's all on our website. And Greg, thanks for making that great intro there.
Yes. Well, I look forward to, taking advantage of that new tech as well. That's good stuff. Anything to make us safer in the water, both for the operators and for the divers. I mean, that's a win-win right there. And I would imagine they're going to be at the DEMA show showcasing that system, aren't they?
They'll be out in force. And one thing that we didn't mention that's really an interesting aspect of it is after your dive on the app itself, it creates a heat map to show you where you went, because it knows GPS where the buoy is, and it knows from sonar where you were in relation to the buoy. It can generate an actual accurate map of where you went on your dive. And if you stop at some place and say you're lobster diving and you're spending a bunch of time in one area, the little dot, your dot glows to a bright red color. So you can not only see where you went, but how long you spent at each place in the dive profile. So it's really some very innovative technology in that regard.
Love it.
Willie, does it signal the surface if a diver is low on air and doesn't realize it?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. We were diving in our group, and all of a sudden my thing flash started binging, and my wrist was rattling, and it was all because our dive guide was beneath 1,000 pounds. So yeah, it signals everybody. There's all different settings. You can set it whatever you want. In this case, they had it set for 1,000, but yeah, it'll signal the boat or your buddy or the entire group that you're low on air, or it reached whatever point, your turnaround point, whatever. And we didn't talk a lot about it because we didn't get a chance to test this feature because you really needed the equipment in advance to learn it first. But you can message each other back and forth with preset messages underwater. So, that's the advent of underwater texting.
Yeah.
Can you send emojis?
Well, and you can turn it off probably if you want to too. Like
Of
it's
course,
personal preference,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Well, good
You
stuff.
got it.
Good stuff indeed. All right. Well, up next, it's time to head over to Jeff Sincere and Pino in Rocky Hill, Connecticut, page 35 of Scuba Diving Industry Magazine, keeping divers diving by selling the big three. So, Jeff, is one of those three the new Garmin system, or you got a different three in mind?
It should be. It's definitely a big innovation in the industry and a long time coming. So I'm sure we're going to see that around in the near future. But yeah, the big three, it was something that I didn't coin the term big three. I just used that because invariably, as a dive shop owner or an instructor or dive professional, your students are going to ask you, what should I buy next? They've already bought their masks, snorkel fins, and boots, took their class, and now they're asking the question, what should I buy next? Should I buy a knife? Should I buy a compass? Should I buy a surface marker buoy? What is it? And obviously, yeah, you should buy everything. But really, over the years, I crafted my answer to that by saying, look, I can't tell you what you should buy next. What I can tell you, though, is what you're going to need to be a diver if you want to be a scuba diver. And let's focus on the big three and probably the most expensive pieces of equipment that you're going to get. And my big three is the regulator, the buoyancy compensator, and the dive computer. And I try to explain to people why I feel that those are the three most important things that you have to be a diver and be a safe and competent diver. One, the regulator, they tell you the most important feature of the regulator is ease of breathing. Well, yeah, but it is the most intimate piece of gear you have. It's what you put in your mouth. It's what you need to get the air out of your tank. So one, I want my own regulator. I want to know that I'm using it. I want to know where it's been, how it's been cleaned, how it's been serviced, how it's going to function. So, regulator, one of those three pieces. And then the BC, we hear of people renting BCs, and I've seen it on boats where the BC doesn't fit. It's riding up on their neck. Their buoyancy's all out of whack because of the BC. It's not that they're a bad diver. It's the equipment. They're not familiar with it. It doesn't fit them right. Some cases, they don't know where the releases are. They don't know how to get rid of the weights. So buoyancy compensator, yes, one of those big three elements. And then finally, the dive computer. It doesn't help if you don't know how to use the dive computer. Just slap it on the wrist. If you can't read it, you can't see the numbers, you don't know how to set it up, you don't know how to interpret what it's telling you, what the alarms are all about. The dive computer is really a key component on that. So I always tell people these are the big three things. And guess what? When you have a diver who's purchased those three things, they're going to probably keep diving because they know they've got the gear, they know they have the gear, they know how to use it, and more importantly, because they have their own gear, they're going to be comfortable in the water. And that's one of the things that prevents people from diving is they take the class and they haven't gained the comfort in the water yet. And that's because they don't have their own gear and they're always trying to learn how to use a new piece of gear every time they go diving. So I always looked at it as saying, sit down with them and say, here's the big three. Here's the things you need to become a diver. And if you can sell that, you're going to keep your divers diving.
Makes total sense to me. Yeah.
And help your bottom line as well.
Yeah, those are the big the big three.
Yeah.
They're the biggest investment, right?
Yes. Reg BC, dive computer, and buy me a beer.
Great. 4. Yeah.
And add an
Thanks
extra
again,
one.
Jeff.
Yeah.
I had a guy come in one time, and the first thing he wanted to buy was a knife. I'm like, okay.
Call that a knife? Yeah.
Well, see that.
Right. All right. Well, it's what you do. All right. Next up, we got Alex Brilski. He's the man. He's in Florida right now, page 12, training a complete diver. Attitude is everything. So, Alex, what's with the attitude? What do you mean?
I like that.
What's with the attitude is
Yeah.
we, as educators, and not just dive educators, but educators in general, really miss the mark in terms of teaching attitudes. And that may sound like an odd concept, but we assume, as many educators think that attitude is just something that emerges out of the ether, but it really is it should be a very important learning outcome. And it stems from not understanding, some basic concepts in education, in that regardless of what theory you come from, education comes in different flavors. There are at least three domains. Every theory, accepts this idea. We have cognitive learning, which is learning from the head. What do I need to know in order to dive? We have motor skill learning, which is, of course, what do we have to do to be safe? But the third realm that's either overlooked or completely missed, absolutely, is what we refer to as the affective domain. And this is the domain where we develop attitudes which drive choices, which eventually drive behavior. And I think with that, in my view at least, that is really the most important part of education, whether it's diving or whatever subject you're talking about. And so what I try to do in the first part of that article is to kind of explain what the whole realm of attitude is, and how we have come a long way in learning exactly how we teach attitudes. By the way, it comes originally from the advertising world, not even the academic world. And so with a little bit of background in terms of what attitude education is about, I then segue into the bulk of the article, which is, okay, how do we do this? And then we get into tried and true methods of how you conduct your courses in a way that is trying to imprint and instill the appropriate attitudes in terms of safety and conservation. Because we really are, in my view, the most important thing we do in teaching divers is to make them safe. But I think we also miss the mark if we aren't instilling some ethos of conservation. And in particular, in fact, I have a sidebar that talks about a concept that's gained popularity in education called the flipped classroom, which is where rather than rely on the classroom to give the bulk of learning, you have the students using various tools to kind of get the background, and then what they do in class is to apply and to provide opportunities for the students to really engage. And I was fortunate enough not in the article, but in the resource materials, I was able to identify about 6 free resources on the internet that could be used to address affective learning from NOAA, from various marine sources, and then a guideline on how that can be actually implemented in the course of instruction. So I think I'm hoping, if anything else, it just makes diving educators think a little bit more thoroughly, a little bit more deeply about what our job really is, because we do have an obligation to not only train people who are knowledgeable and skilled, but also have the appropriate attitude towards safety and toward marine conservation.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's a good attitude, to sum it up in one sense.
It really is. And the QR code at the end of his article, Alex does such a good job of putting together a Dropbox with all these resources for you as an instructor or a professional. So take a look at it. And if you really want to dive deeper, every professional should have Beneath the Blue Planet. It's really it's a book that Alex wrote, and it's sold by Best Publishing. It's a great resource for really understanding what he's been writing about in this series. So I'd encourage it. So thank you, Alex. Great article.
Appreciate it, as always.
All right. Up next, we got Shelly Hendricks from Sun City, West Arizona. And she's written an article on page 25, Scuba Diving Industry Magazine, Managing Peak Season, Stop Burnout Before It Starts. And I assume that's right now, peak season. I'm not sure for Arizona. But, how do we avoid burnout there, Shelley?
Yeah, thinking about the heat of Arizona and burnout in the same sentence is pretty ironic, isn't it? Yeah, peak
Yeah.
season varies depending on where you are in the world, and we recognize that. But I've been hearing from a lot of dive pros recently around, we're slammed. We're grateful for the business, but we're exhausted. And so that's what prompted this article. So I offer a couple of tips, things like, prioritizing your workload, understanding what matters most, and some ways to do that. I actually think if you email me at the QR code, I have a free tool. I can send you our little tool for prioritization. But recognizing and preventing exhaustion is one of the key ways we can do that. We can avoid burnout. And certainly, in a moment, you'll hear from Gretchen at ScubaFit, who can talk a little bit about increasing capacity, but not waiting until you're wiped out, right? Before you start taking care of yourself, and take a break, take a rest, ask for help. Change your tasks. We all have a variety of tasks. So if you find yourself getting mentally exhausted over here, switch tasks and do something different. Trying to change up your workflow and the different kinds of things you do out throughout the day. Doing the hardest work in the peak of your energy is also helpful. Learning to say no when appropriate. Now that's a hard one for some folks. I know that
Mhm.
I'm still learning how to do that one myself.
Mhm.
So, learning to say no and to ask for help, those two combined. The bottom line is we only have 24 hours a day, and we haven't had science evolve enough to change that for us yet. But what we do know is that research shows that when we are very clear on our why, we're able to access extraordinary performance. So, I really appreciate Catherine's article about mission, vision, and values for our business. When we also do that for ourselves, we're able to prioritize what matters most to me. And you're better able to make those decisions about where do I want to invest my time and energy so that I can show up as my full and best self when it matters most.
Makes
So,
sense. I
yeah.
like it. I mean, you got to
Great
take care
article.
of yourself before you can take care of others and teach them how to dive and stuff,
That's
right,
what they
Will?
tell us on the airplane, right? Put your
Yes,
Yeah.
oxygen
true.
mask on before you help others.
Right.
Well, and this time of year, in every resort all around the world, and every dive shop all around the world, they're exhausted staff and
Yeah.
exhausted owners because
Mhm.
they know this is a crunch time. You only have about another week to go, and the season's officially kind of starts to close down for most people. So
Yeah. And until
it's a very
the
relevant time.
until the robots take over, we got to, rely on our own, health and fitness
Exactly.
and
Exactly.
right.
Thanks again, Shelley. Great article. And by the way, definitely reach out to her. She has a website, diveprocoach.com.
That's right. That's right. And I'll be at DEMA as well. I have a couple of sessions. If you want to stop by and chat with me a little bit about your business or your own personal mission statement, I'd be happy to explore that with you.
Right. And I mean, we
Great.
can compare temperatures because in Arizona,
Yes.
I know it's even hotter than Orlando. So,
Yeah.
yeah, you can do that. But look, you got to take care of yourself, physically, mentally, and that's a good segue into Gretchen. Ashton from
Absolutely.
Carlsbad, California. She's the Scuba Fit lady. We've had her on Scuba Radio before back in the day. I love
That's
the
right.
idea way back then. But page 20, creating a healthier scuba diving business with a fitness profit center. That's her thing. And so, what is Scuba Fit? And how can a dive shop teach this program there, Gretchen?
Hey, thanks for asking. Scuba Fit is a custom fitness program for every diver, whether you're a new diver, whether you're an aging diver, a dive professional at any level, a business owner, or an in the water instructor. Scuba Fit is the foundation for every other certification out there because it's the place where you can take care of yourself so that you can be the healthiest that you can possibly be and dive more often.
Love it. Yeah, I mean, you got to take care of yourself. I mean, and a lot of people sometimes I'll go out like I was in the Maldives on that liveaboard, and it was a 10-nighter, extra long, and you know, when you're there and you're just diving, sleeping, and eating, yeah, you're burning a few calories diving, but not enough. And it'd probably be a good idea to kind of work into some kind of routine to kind of keep things a little up to snuff because I came back and I was hurting. You know what I mean? It was the jet
You felt
lag.
that, huh?
It was too much food. I came home with like a 5-pound souvenir that I wasn't expecting to bring back with me, that kind of thing.
Right.
But
You got bit by the chub. That's what we call it.
yes, right.
Uh,
But
So
but
another
it's good.
aspect,
Yeah.
another
Yeah.
aspect of Gretchen's programs is that if you're a dive shop out there and you have an in-house pool, it's a utilization of a piece of an asset you already have that requires no additional expense other than simply buying your materials.
Mhm.
And if I'm going to make a perfect scenario, Joel, you just came back from Grenada with a group you took to Grenada. It would be so awesome if the shop had, about 2 months before, 3 months before, announced a program where you could come and do these diving related workouts as you got ready to go on your trip. So when you would help exactly what you're talking about there, Greg, too,
Mhm.
getting more fit, and it's an extra source of revenue.
Absolutely.
Right. There's one of the things that happens this time of year with the burnout and peak season kind of winding down is it's actually the time of year when I find most instructors come to the Scuba Fit course. It's available online. It's very easy to take. And the course is, because it's an individual and customized course, it takes the dive professional through a process of sort of rejuvenation, refreshing their goals, um, maybe recovering from summer. Maybe they had a minor injury during dive season, um, and 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 really reset and get ready for the next year. A lot of folks start fitness at the first of the year with New Year's resolutions, but at Scuba Fit, our fitness year starts right at the end of the dive season. So we can be ready when the first of the year comes, when a lot of divers are ready to get their certifications for being in the water, right? So then you go from that, which is a very busy time, right into summer. So for instructors, there's this little window of opportunity to get your course. It's a distinctive specialty that you can benefit from personally, but then you can teach it to your diving clients and package it with other dive certifications to kind of create value for them. So health, adventure, and community are those are the three things that Scuba Fit will bring to your dive shop.
Well, and that'll go back to bringing down the level of burnout as well. If
Yeah.
you're an instructor and working at a
Mhm.
dive, get involved, get more healthy. It'll fix your brain a little bit in that
Yeah,
regard.
thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
good
you,
stuff,
Gretchen.
Gretchen.
So,
Mhm.
Greg, we
Yeah.
have another new writer aside from Gretchen. We have a brand new writer for us. He's not new to the industry in any way, shape, or form, but he's new to our magazine. And Joel Silverstein wrote an article. Now I'm going to take your thunder a little bit away because I have a reason for it, Greg. Time to tighten the standards, a call for rigor in nitrox gas analysis. This story was so impactful that all of our editors were so freaked out after reading this story. None of them wanted to dive with nitrox again.
Yeah.
So congratulations, Joel. Why don't you dig into this, into the whole concept of accuracy of nitrox analyzers?
Well, I appreciate you having me on. When we started using nitrox gas back in 1988, we followed a lot of standards that came from the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration, which was you analyze your gas with two analyzers in line, and you had to have a specific flow rate for it to guarantee that the analysis was accurate. And now here we are 35 years later, and nitrox analysis has become extremely casual. Casual to the point where there are lots of errors being made along the way. The article got prompted while I was on a trip to an unknown location, and their crew had no idea how to use an analyzer. They kept on readjusting the calibration to get the reading that they wanted. Now, that's kind of like letting your pharmacist keep on mixing the drugs until it matches. Nitrox analyzers are inexpensive. They're a couple of $100, and it's one of the simplest tools that any diver that's diving on nitrox should have. The problem with all analyzers is that they are only as good as the sensor that you have on it, how old that sensor is, and how well you've calibrated the unit. If you've got a sensor that's more than a year old, it's probably not going to be working properly. And if you haven't calibrated the unit properly, you're not going to get an accurate reading. And both of those things will result in either too high in oxygen content that you don't know about, which can lead to oxygen toxicity, or too high in nitrogen content, which will lead to decompression sickness. And so while we're buying all these great dive computers and these, locators and DPVs, the simple oxygen analyzer is probably the most critical tool that you can have. And that's what I tried to get across in that article.
Okay, well, you've effectively scared the crap out of me. Do we have any solutions?
Yeah, the solution is really easy. Get an analyzer, learn how to use it, analyze your own cylinders every time you're diving.
Yeah.
Make sure you're labeling them properly.
See, I definitely do that. I calibrate my nitrox analyzer every time before every dive, but I did not know that the sensors can wear out in like a year. Is that what you're saying, or it just depends on how they were cared for?
So these sensors are all what are called galvanic sensors, and they've got a fluid inside them.
Mm-hmm.
And the sensor is running the moment it's created.
Yeah.
And it decays over time. And usually an analyzer and a sensor will last 12 to 18 months at best. If it's in a high humidity, high heat environment, you might get about 6 months out of it.
Right.
The other thing is they're extremely delicate.
Mm-hmm.
When you have these handheld analyzers, when you drop them down on the table, they rattle these sensors, and that can dislodge the chemical that's inside of them. And that, in effect, will also provide a false reading.
Okay. Well,
back to air. Part of the article, Greg, my favorite part of his article was saying something about the effect of the analyzer being tethered to a tank on the back of the dive boat bouncing around. I mean, how many times have we seen that?
Yeah.
True. It's really, really remarkable. And thank you, Joel, for that really insightful article.
Yeah,
I've had a couple people reach out to us about it. You had, and he's going to follow up with O2 in this next month, right?
Yeah, the next article talks about oxygen cleanliness and how you keep your valves and your system clean. Because just like a dive certification, it's only good on the day it's actually done. And afterwards, if you get it dirty, it's going to be dirty.
It's great. It's great. Thanks again, Joel. Thanks for your article. Greg, that's about it. The last thing I want to talk about is I wrote an article on page, I think it's on page 11, very much complimentary to Shelley's article, and it deals with some tactical advice for operators that are at this end of the season, into the summer period, and how you can best utilize that crazy busy period of time by journaling. It sounds simple, but usually you forget as you get through the summer, and you've got to write. If you write down what's worked well, what didn't work well this summer, then at least you can utilize your off-season time to adjust it for next year. So they were both the articles are kind of dealing with that burnout process, which everybody has this time of year. And Joel, you gave us a preview for next month. On the front cover of our magazine is this beautiful manta ray. This is on this issue, and that was provided by Mandy. How do you pronounce your last name, Go? Epson?
Yeah, we'll go with that.
Yeah, and it's owner of Neko Marine in
I think it's
Palau.
And Palau? I was going to say I recognize that manta
Palau.
in the Maldives.
So he helped arrange this image. So thank you very much, Gil. He didn't shoot it, but he helped arrange to get it. But the reason I'm bringing this up is because he has written a dive leader's guide to Palau for next month. So it'll be really for group travel. So that should be a great article. Al Hornsby, which because of the time difference in Singapore, has not been able to make these podcasts, but he's doing a great job with his liability series. If you haven't read them, read his articles. They're astoundingly poignant because as the chief legal advisor for Patty for almost 3 decades, he's seen every lawsuit there is. They all went through across his desk, and he boils that down to a 1-page analysis of what went wrong, and it's fantastic. John Fine, a new writer out of South Florida, is writing about different forms of cooperation. Dan's continuing his series, Dan Orr, on him and Al took a very similar tack. They're talking about safety stops. And it all stems from a conversation that we both had with somebody completely different in the industry about misperceptions of required versus you should do it, but only if there's not an emergency. So they kind of both tag on the same concept. And then Alex, of course, is doing his next few installments of his book series. That's it. Brayton, do you have anything else you want to wrap up with today?
Yeah, what do you think, Bretton?
As we get closer to DEMA, guys, really, if you don't have your spot, give me a call. My email as well as in the is in there. So make sure you're reaching out.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, now's the time everybody's hunkering down in the industry to get ready for the show. So get your hotels booked and all that kind of stuff. We only got a month or two, and it's going to be here
DEMA
before
has a
we know
room
it.
block, and they've got the host hotel, which is the Rose, and this year the convention center is called the West Hall, and it's physically right attached to the hotel. So it's really nice. It's not across the street like the usual. And they also have a host hotel. They have a host hotel or host rooms at the Days Inn, which is like $89. So depending upon your budget, there's no reason to not come to DEMA. So
stay an extra day or two. Hit the new Epic Universe theme park.
Yeah, because we're going to have a big party at Greg's house. I haven't told you that either. No, just kidding.
I'm not even going to be in my house. DEMA takes up so much time. Even though I live here in Orlando, I literally move into the Rosen Center for the week because I got to be down with all my dive buddies, and I don't do the commute back and forth. Yeah.
Thanks, Greg, for a great show, and all you writers and contributors. Thank you, and we'll do this all again next month.
Absolutely. All right. Well, that'll do it for this week's edition of Level Up. Don't forget to check out Scuba Radio every Saturday, 3 to 5 Eastern Time. Till then, remember, it is always better
where it's wetter.
Well, closer. Down where it's wetter. That's it.
Down where it's wetter.
This has been Level Up, the podcast of Scuba Diving Industry Magazine. Produced by Scuba Radio and the Klein Group. For more info, go to ScubaDivingIndustry.com.